Welcome to Real Life Topics Podcast, guys. Good evening. We would like for you guys to welcome our exclusive interview for this evening, Mr. Adam Meyer. Mr. Adam Meyer is the founder of Stop the Stigma. He is also the captain of the Hartford, Wisconsin Police Department.
I am. I'm the captain of the Hartford Township Police Department. That's correct. Yep.
Okay. He is also a peer specialist,
I am.
advocate
Yep.
for law enforcement, mental health wellness. Please welcome Captain Adam Meyers to Real Life Topics Podcast, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with you. I really hope that it helps somebody, at least just one person. That's what it's all about. That's why I speak about my experience, my mental health. I want to help people, and I know that there's so many people out there that are struggling with mental health. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. It doesn't matter if you're unemployed. I just know people are struggling, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and I understand that. I suffered in silence for many years until I finally decided to get the right kind of help that I needed and started getting better, and then I started speaking publicly about what I went through.
Okay, so I just gave my definition of who Adam Meyer is. I would like for you to tell Real Life Topics Podcast, who is Adam Meyer?
Adam Meyers is, I'm 50 years old, kind of old, but with that comes a lot of real life experience, real life topics, just like your podcast. So that's good stuff. I'm a father of two grown daughters, Sydney Marie, who's 27, and Peyton Elizabeth, who's 23. I'm a police officer, police captain right now. And on my off time, I just like to do a lot of outdoor stuff. I like to walk, I like to hike. I like eating a lot, so which is kind of challenging because it seems like every bite of food I take, I gain weight. So that's a challenge. Um, but I think I'm just a normal everyday guy, and that has gone through some pretty challenges in my life. And I truly believe one of the reasons why I'm here is because God put me here. By the grace of God, I'm here speaking with you about what I went through when I was going through it. I wasn't very happy with God. Him and I had some pretty heated conversations. It was pretty much one-sided, my side. Um, but I'm just I think I'm just a normal everyday guy. I have a mom and a dad and a sister and three nieces, and family's really important to me. Religion's really important to me, and I'm really nothing special. So that's just a little bit about me.
Okay, so I want to start off with the beginning of everything that made you in the position that you are in now. And I want to know what inspired you to pursue a career in law enforcement, and what year did you start this whole thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a police officer. I lived in the city of Racine, which is between Chicago, Illinois, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It borders Lake Michigan, and we lived on Washington Avenue, which is one of the main thoroughfares that go in and out of the city of Racine. And my parents said every time that I heard a siren go by the house, I'd run up to the window and look outside and hoping to see a police car because I thought those were cool. And fire engines, ambulances, I liked all those too. But I was looking for the police car. And my parents said every time a police car went by the house, I called it an car, because of the siren it made. And the first time I saw a police officer get out of an car, I looked at my mom and dad and said, an car man, I want to grow up and be an car man. So all my life, I did what I thought was necessary. I graduated from high school. I went to college. I joined the military. And then after the military, I moved back home to Racine. And in 2001, I was hired by the Racine Police Department, where it all started. So I was blessed to uh, begin my law enforcement career in the city where my dream started. So it was really a dream come true, something I worked really hard to achieve. And um, it's still surreal to me when I look back and I think, wow, this is something I've wanted to do ever since I was a little boy, and it really was happening in the city where it all started. So I thought that it's pretty neat.
Oh, okay. So it's been 20 plus years that you have been doing your dream job.
It has been, yep. About 24 years now, almost. Yep.
Okay, so 20 years. And then, so of course, we're going to dig deeper into why we are here because, of course, we are here to talk about mental health wellness for law enforcement, talk about a critical incident that you experienced because, of course,
Hmm.
my topic is about dynamics of life, and this is a dynamic of life that
Yeah.
actually. So,
Great.
2016 was a critical incident, uh, kind of unfortunate to a certain extent. And if you could tell Real Life Topics podcast, what happened in 2016?
Yeah, in 2016, on April 8th, 2016, it was a Friday at 5:15 p.m. It was a tragic day. I was sitting at the police department working on a retail theft report when I was dispatched to our Walmart store. And it wasn't a very emergent call. It was somebody that was refusing to leave. Later on, we found out that it was a woman who was having mental health problems. She was actually a mental health patient at a state mental health facility, and she was, my understanding, on out on a good behavior path. They went to a restaurant, and then they went over to Walmart, and then when the chaperones told her her name was Melissa, when told her it was time to leave, she didn't want to leave. So she went back to the sporting goods section and she ripped open a hatchet from the packaging, and then she started following customers around, being threatening with the hatchet, and that's when they dispatched me. Now, when I was responding to Walmart, I didn't respond with my lights and sirens. It wasn't a very emergent call at the time, and it progressively became more and more emergent while I was driving to Walmart. They said she was trying to get a knife out of the package. Then they said that she was in possession of a knife, and that's when I turned my lights and sirens on and really started stepping it up to get there quicker. Now, when I responded, I had no idea where she was. Initially, I was going to respond through the auto center because that's near where the sporting goods section was. And I thought that if I responded through the auto center, I could keep her back in the sporting goods section, kind of isolate her back there, keep her away from anybody else in the store, and kind of have a safer environment back there where there wasn't a lot of people. But while I was responded, dispatch kept giving me kind of the play by play and let me know that she's threatening customers. Now she's walking up towards the front of the store. So most Walmarts have two entrances. One's a grocery entrance and one's a general merchandise entrance. And the way dispatch was telling me she was walking, I figured I'd park in front of the general merchandise entrance. And I did that. I parked my squad car there. I turned my sirens off, but I left my lights going because I wanted to kind of draw attention to what was going on at that entrance. So if anybody else would want to walk through that door, maybe they would think twice because they would see a police vehicle with the lights going. So what I did is I exited my patrol vehicle. I drew my weapon right away. I had no idea where she was, and I made contact with a man and a woman immediately upon entering Walmart. And I asked, "Where is she?" And they kind of pointed down one of the main aisles where the lawn and garden and health and beauty aisle were a main aisle, a main intersection. So I ran down there and I made contact with her, and her back was faced towards me, and I could see her making this hacking motion, and she was chopping up bags of weed and feed on a pallet. I identified myself and I gave her some verbal commands to stop and drop the hatchet. She turned and faced me, and that's when I realized that's not a knife, that's a hatchet. And she wouldn't listen to me. She kept walking towards me and kept walking towards me. And I told her, stop, drop it. And she wouldn't do that. And I made the decision to shoot. Now, I shot twice. One shot went in and out of one of her legs, and the second shot hit her in the sternum, and then she fell to the ground. Um, when I pulled the trigger, I know that I changed lives. I Not only did I take Melissa's life, she ended up dying later on, but I changed lives. The second I pulled that trigger, everybody in the store that watched it, that witnessed it, that heard it maybe all the way on the other side of Walmart, because there was hundreds of people in the store and there were so many people around there witnessing what was going on. They're all affected. And not only that, Melissa's family, you know, her mom, her dad, her other family members will never be able to see her again because of what happened. It was a tragic incident, and I know I did the right thing, but it still doesn't make it easier. Every single day, one way or another, I think about it. One way or another, it's been it's been 9 years, um, about 9 years, and I still think about it every single day, one way or another. And I really didn't think she was going to die because when she fell to the ground, we provided first aid, and the ambulance came, and she was talking to the paramedics, and the thought just didn't cross my mind that she was going to die. And that day, at the end of the day, when after I went back to the police department and they said I could go home, I drove home. I was still in uniform. They had taken my gun. I was still in uniform. I had a take home squad car, so I drove home. But before I did that, I reached up into my visor because my cell phone was in my visor, and I thought to myself, I got to call my mom and dad. I have to let them know what happened because it was all over the news. Um, and I had like 24 missed calls from all kinds of different people. But my first thought was I have to call my mom and dad, and they lived about 3.5, 4 hours away from me in Wisconsin, and I called them and I let them know. They both got on the telephone, and I let them know I was involved in a shooting at work. I'm okay. Um, and later on, weeks later, I talked with my mom, and she goes, "Honey, I didn't even recognize your voice. I could tell that you were in shock. You're my baby boy, and I've never even heard your voice like that. I could tell you weren't okay, but there was really nothing I could do." So, after the phone call, I drove home and pulled in my driveway, and my daughters were young at the time. They weren't there. I was divorced, and they were with my ex-wife. And the first thing I did was I walked into my house and I knelt down next to my love seat and I prayed to God that Melissa wouldn't die. I didn't want her to die. Everything seemed surreal, and there was still a part of me that didn't think she was going to. So that's first thing I did was kneel down and pray, and then I went into my bedroom and I took my uniform off, and even with all my gear off, I felt so heavy. And I remember sitting at the foot of my bed feeling so heavy and so just kind of in awe. Everything seemed surreal. I lived in that community. I shopped at that Walmart, and it just I knew what happened. It didn't seem real. Um, and then I ordered a pizza. I love pizza. I'm a emotional eater, and I ordered a pizza and watched the news to see what was being said about the shooting and about me. And I was told not to watch the news, but I'm like, I'm not going to listen. I want to see what's going on. And then I went to bed and I slept well. And I don't know if it was just because of the adrenaline dump, because of all the emotions and everything being released, and I slept very well. And um, the next morning, because the shooting was on a Friday, the next morning was Saturday and Sunday, and I had the weekend off because I wasn't a part of the investigation until Monday, when I would be interviewed by detectives and other people. So I woke up and I thought, I got to do something normal, if that's even possible, to find something normal to do after you shoot somebody. And I always got my hair cut every week. I still do. It's just kind of like that self-help. That's kind of me time. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to go get my hair cut, and then I'm going to go pick up my kids. And when I was walking out my front door to get in my car, my chief called me, and it was kind of the typical conversation. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing okay. And he asked me, when can you come in and see me? And I said, well, I'm going to go get my haircut first and get my girls, and then I'll come see you. And he said, Adam, I didn't want to tell you this over the phone, but she died. And I I just remember sitting there thinking, I killed somebody. What next? What's going to happen now? I mean, I remember seeing her laying on the floor in Walmart, and she was talking to paramedics, and I was like, and now she's dead. Um, so that was just a shock to me. And I still see a therapist now. And a few months ago, we were trying to learn more about that weekend. And I told my therapist, I don't even remember. That weekend was like an entire blur to me. And it's just such a it's such a shock because I didn't wake up and go to work and think I hope I shoot somebody today or I hurt somebody today. I've never thought that. I've always prided myself in during my career to never use force. I still to this day has never pepper sprayed anybody. I've never used my baton on anybody. I've always prided myself in being able to talk people down and not have to use force. And now I killed somebody. And that's something over the years I struggled with, thinking that I'm not good enough because I couldn't talk her down. Um, she was coming after me with a hatchet, and I had no other choice but to shoot. And I know I did the right thing, but it's it's not a normal thing to do that, and not an easy thing to live with. So for years after that, I suffered in silence, and I had a lot of poor coping skills.
So you actually answered majority of my questions without me even having to answer the question. One question that is interesting that that you did say, like you said, I didn't wake up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot somebody today." And when
Right.
in that actual moment, do you sometimes look back on it and say, because I noticed you did say, "Hey, I know I did the right thing," but do sometimes you might say, "Hey, man, what if I just did it another way?" Or maybe I could. I wish I could have talked her down some more. Or do you ever think about maybe another route that you could have went to, or it was like, "Hey, that's just the impulse that you have, self defense wise."
Right.
Somebody would have weapon, and that's a reaction, like a reaction automatic, like, "Oh no, you ain't," So do you sometimes you ever think like, "Oh, I could have tied her shoe correctly in a different way," and I'm a figure of speech person. Do you ever
Right.
just
Is there a less lethal way that you could have taken outside of shooting her, so maybe that way she wouldn't have perished? Is there another way that you could have handled that situation outside of shooting her with a gun, like
Sure.
something of that nature?
Sure. I've looked back over the years and thought of different ways. If we would have had if I would have had a few more officers with me too, we could have did more of a tactical approach, and it wasn't just me. I did have a taser with me. But with the amount of people that were around me, if I thought the taser would have worked, I absolutely would have done it. I have been tased for training myself, and I have used my taser probably about a half a dozen times on people, and I know that that less lethal form of works. But at the time, she was just advancing towards me way too quickly with the hatchet, and I still remember. I can't believe she's not listening to me. I can't believe I still remember looking at her, and she just came right at me, and she just so quickly. And probably a million things were going through my mind, but I still remember, why isn't she listening to me? Why isn't she stopping? And the last thing I remember is she had the hatchet in her hand, and she made this figure eight kind of swooping motion. Um, and that's the last thing I remember. But the witnesses that were there said that's not what she did. The last thing she did was raise the hatchet over her head, and that's when I shot. But I don't remember that. And I talked to my therapist and other psychologists, and they say, and I don't completely understand it, but they say that it's a part of the brain that protects you from that kind of trauma. Um, because Walmart has cameras everywhere. The cameras showed that. The witnesses, they all said the same thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not what I remember, but everybody else saw it. And um, which I guess is good that the brain works that way, because I don't have nightmares of that. I don't have flashbacks of that. So, which I'm grateful for. But, if there was another alternative, I absolutely would have done it without a doubt. Because, like I said earlier, my career, I've always prided myself with talking people down. I never went into a situation thinking, okay, this is it, I'm going to shoot somebody, or I'm going to use this level of force on somebody. I don't want to do that. I want to talk to somebody. I want to talk them down, because they could be dysregulated or in a certain situation that they're not normally in, and just talking one-on-one to a person like a person, and not showing up like, hey, I'm the police and here's my gun. And no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work all the time. And but this time, how quickly she advanced towards me, I felt like I had no other option.
Mm-hmm. So my question is, it seems like that she may have had some kind of mental illness issue herself. So is there a protocol that you have when you come across a person of that magnitude, of that nature, with mental?
There is. I mean, there's we have crisis intervention officers, and I wasn't trained in that at the time. But she was a mental health patient at a state-run mental health facility, and the two chaperones that with her were normal chaperones that usually assist her with, outings to restaurants or retail stores or wherever they would decide to go outside of the facility. It's my understanding that the one chaperone that usually is with her had to remain back at the facility, and the two new chaperones, they were with her, and they told our dispatcher right away, she has a history of violence. She's known to be violent. And she was a bigger woman, and they were smaller than her. And she was also, I think she was 23 years old. And they said they were afraid of her because they stayed on the 911 call and told dispatch, she's trying to, open up the hatchet right now. We don't know what to do. So even they were afraid of her. And I think there was a lot of failures that day. I spoke with other people who knew her, including psychologists, and they were surprised that she was even out of out at Walmart, or was even outside of the facility because of her history of violence. She had written letters to politicians and judges talking about she was going to kill them and dismember them and all kinds of different things. And that was all discovered during the investigation. And there was another police department that's right next to our community, and she basically wrote out in her diary what happened that day. Um, she said, I'm going to get involved in a shootout with the police, and they'll shoot me, and my family will be sad. So we don't know if it was kind of a suicide by cop type of thing. And that was all discovered, after the shooting, and they started investigating. But yeah, when I found out that she did struggle from mental health, it kind of made sense why she wasn't listening to me, and she just was coming right at me so quickly. And yeah, it was just a really tragic day. It's sad. And at the time, she had a 6-year-old daughter, and my daughters were young. So that's something that I live with now, knowing that, she's never going to be able to see her mom again. Um, and I truly believe that, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven, and I believe Melissa will be there too. And I'm hopeful that she'll meet me there, and everything will be okay, and she'll be healthy, and I'll be better, and um, we can meet again. And that's one thing that I would really like to do. And it's really up to them, but I would like to meet Melissa's family. Um, I don't know if they would even want to. I know it wouldn't be an easy thing to do, but I would like to meet them and let them know that that wasn't in the plan that day. I'm not a monster. I never ever wanted to do that ever, and I hope I never have to do it again. When you get into law enforcement, it's a possibility, but will it happen? Probably not. Probably not. It could, but probably not. Well, now this is my reality. It did happen, and um, I would be grateful if I'd be able to even spend 5 minutes with her family, just to meet them. And I mean, it was a tragic day for everybody there. The witnesses, for Melissa, for her family, for me, for my family. I mean, there's so many people involved besides, just Melissa and me. So
Yeah. So the Stop the Threat and Stop the Stigma basically was founded and made after this incident, of course.
correct. Yeah.
So what led up to you coming out with this mental health Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma? What led of course we know what led up to it because this incident did happen.
Sure.
To a mental health depression yourself. And if you can
Right.
dwell a little bit on the the way it affected you. Because if it was just something like you say, if you just woke up and said, I'm gonna shoot somebody today, then of course all of these things that ended up happening with you, that was the result of it, which was unfortunate,
Right. Right.
depression, not want to go outside. If you can just touch a little bit on the results of the aftermath, is what it's called, the
Right.
after
Yeah.
of this incident.
Absolutely. I'm wearing a tactical vest, and a lot of people see police officers wear this, and they have this patch right here, and I have another patch that I'm going to put on right here, and it's alcohol, casual sex, and drugs. When I was poorly coping, I was suffering in silence. I mean, I was depressed. I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of stress. And what I would do is sometimes I would make my own cocktails. I have a simulated wine glass right here. And what I would do is I'd add, some ZzzQuil, or I'd even add NyQuil to it. Or one time I reached into the medicine cabinet and I grabbed my daughter's prescription medicine that had codeine in it because she had a cold. And I would just make my own cocktails, slam it down real quick and just sleep the day away. And, at the time I was taking medicine and prescribed medicine. It said don't take with alcohol. I currently take medicine. It's right here. I take 20 milligrams of Lexapro. I wake up in the morning, go to the bathroom, pop a pill, keep going. But when I was struggling, I was just looking for the next thing to make me feel good. And alcohol did that for me. There's some vodka right here, 750 milliliters of vodka, and I would drink this in 30 minutes or less, straight right from the bottle. I didn't care. I wanted to numb my pain, numb my feelings. I just wanted to escape reality. I Before I would go anywhere, even grocery shopping, I would stop by the local gas station and I would pick up, two or three of these Fireball whiskey, cinnamon whiskey. These things are my best friend, and I I'd buy them and I'd go right in my car, right in the parking lot, and I'd have two or three of these and I'd throw them in the back of my car, or I'd throw them out the window while I was driving to wherever I was going. And I would rationalize that, okay, it would take about 30 minutes for the alcohol to kick in. And then, I wouldn't be impaired and I would be okay because I would be where I'm supposed to go. And that's not true. I mean, that was very self-destructive and risky behavior. And I'm lucky that number one, I didn't crash my car. I didn't kill somebody, another person, because I was drinking and driving. I wasn't arrested. So I got very lucky, but I didn't care. Another coping strategy was casual sex. I would meet women online strictly for sex, and it was mutually agreed upon. And sometimes within 30 minutes or less of us meeting, we'd be having sex. And to me, sex is fun. It's exciting. It feels good. But I was like chasing that dopamine high. It wasn't making love, which I think is special when you have somebody special that you love in your life. It was just sex. And I remember laying in bed with a woman after we had sex, and I thought, what are you doing, Adam? You got to knock this off. This isn't working for you anymore. I started not liking who I was, and it took me a few more years to get over that because it was such a quick fix. It made me feel good, but then I was also worried that what if I get her pregnant? What if I catch an STD? But that all of that still wasn't enough for me to stop coping that way. It caused me more stress, more depression, more anxiety. It just really didn't do anything for me. Marijuana, I tried marijuana for the first time after my shooting, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's just pot. It's no big deal." But to me, it was, because all my life I prided myself in not doing any kind of drugs. But I didn't care. I was looking for that next quick fix to numb my pain, to escape reality. And this was my life. I would do it all the time. I would do it on my days off. I wouldn't do it the day before I had to go back to work, and I never did it on the nights or the days or at work. But it was unhealthy. I gained so much weight. It just added to my stress, anxiety, and depression. And when we talk about suicide, I have another patch here, if I can get that on correctly. We talk about suicide, and I do have this is a plastic replica of my duty weapon. It's completely plastic. There's no working parts in it. But when I was intoxicated, I easily put my gun to my head a dozen times. I would remove the magazine and clear the chamber, and then I'd put the gun to my temple, and I would pull the trigger because I wanted to hear that metallic click. And I have no idea why I did that. I never thought that today's the day I want to kill myself. I can't do this no more. But what's the reason? It doesn't make any sense. Adam, why would you do that? And I asked so many people, and they say maybe you were planning, maybe prepping to finally do it. And I easily did that a dozen times when I was intoxicated. And what concerns me is, how many times did I do that when I was so intoxicated that I don't remember? I very well could have forgot to clear the bullet out of the chamber, and then it would have went bang, and I would have killed myself. And um, it's just something that I struggled with: alcohol, casual sex, and marijuana, and even self harm. There was one time that I used a crescent wrench similar to this, and I hit my knee multiple times to cause redness, bruising, abrasions, enough to look at like there's some kind of injury there. And then I went into the emergency room and I lied to the doctor. I lied to the nurses and said I fell down. And they did x-rays on my knee. They gave me medicine. They gave me crutches. They gave me a work release. So I got out of work for a week. And I think I did that because I felt like I was running out of excuses to go to work. And my chief at the time was so supportive. If I would have went right in and said, "Chief, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I don't get it, but I know I can't be here. I need to go home." I'm sure he would have said, "Okay, Adam, go home," because he did it every other time. But I felt like I was doing that too much. So now I got to lie and come up with something else, which really hurts, because I lied to my chief, the one person that I knew absolutely supported me at work. And I lied to him when I could have just been honest. And, while I was suffering and doing all this stuff, I just find it hard to believe that that nobody realized I was struggling. I think they did, but I also think that they didn't know how to help me or what to say, so they chose not to get involved. And I get that, because in early years of my law enforcement career, I was that guy too. Kind of like, oh, yeah, he might be going through something. If he needs something, he'll reach out. But I wasn't going to reach out. I was doing what I was doing because I thought it was helping. And eventually everything will fall into place and everything will be great. But I was self-destructing. That poor coping, self-destructive, harmful behavior. It was just a matter of time that something bad happened, and by the grace of God, it didn't happen. And but I started speaking about what I went through in 2019 at a college in Wisconsin, and I was a hypocrite because at the time I spoke about all this, but I was still drinking, I was still having casual sex, I was still doing all that, but I was presenting myself as if, yep, this is what I did, while I was still doing that. I did that for years. I didn't get the right kind of help that I needed until 2022, 6 years after my shooting. Um, and I'm better now because I finally put myself first. which is difficult for a lot of people, not only first responders, but for a lot of people who are just caring. You want to help somebody else. So you put everybody else first, but you don't take care of yourself. Well, finally, I was like, enough's enough. I need help. I need the right kind of help. And that's what I decided to do. And now I'm better, and a lot better than I was before. And because I finally put myself first.
Well, I applaud you, of course.
Thank you.
Confidence to do that. I actually applaud you for the whole movement that you are doing, because of course once somebody hear that a police killed someone, then you already know how rage that is, and then they don't even want to hear. It's always two sides to a story. People are
Right.
outside looking in, and then
Yep.
they want to, they don't know both sides, and you just have to put yourself in other people's shoes to actually see what's going on.
Right.
So it's good for you because, like, this incident happens more than once, but of course,
Yeah.
most don't talk about it. They suffer in silence. They don't really talk about it. They don't talk about how, hey, this was my job. This was something that I needed to do to protect myself. And people don't. So I just applaud you for walking out on faith and telling your story so that it can help people, and it can help, people just understand both sides of the end, to know that, hey, I'm suffering just as much as, the other side is suffering.
Right.
So,
yeah. Thank you. And I remember another thing that I remember that was really sad was, shortly after Melissa died, I went on Facebook and I looked at Melissa's mom's Facebook account, and it looked like they were struggling to even come up with the money to bury her. And I can't even imagine. I can't imagine being home and having somebody call me and say one of my daughters was shot and killed by the police. I would want to know everything and anything with what happened, but then to try to bury my daughter and not have the money to even bury her, I can't imagine. It's those things that people don't think about. And I try not to go down that rabbit hole, but part of it is helpful because I do see a therapist. I have another patch right here, and I'm proud. I'm proud that I see a therapist every Monday at 5 p.m. I'm sitting on the couch talking to my therapist. I absolutely love her. I've learned so much about my trauma and why I did certain things. And we just don't talk about my shooting. We talk about just life also. And I think it's helpful. And I'll continue to see a therapist as long as it continues to help me. And, another thing that's kind of taboo to a lot of people, but it helps me, is I take medication. Like I said earlier, I have medicine right here, and it helps me. And as long as it helps me, I'm going to continue to take that. And for some people, it's great. Some people it works. Some people it doesn't. I'm not saying, hey, you should take medicine. For me, it works, and I've been taking it for years, and it's helpful. But I tell everybody what I went through, and any question I answer. It's not easy, but it's important because there are a lot of people, not only police officers, not only first responders, just a lot of people that struggle with mental health, different degrees, but they struggle with it, or they know somebody and they want to reach out and they want to get help, but they're afraid because of that stigma associated with it. If you're struggling with mental health, you shouldn't have to think twice about reaching out for help. That shouldn't even be in your thought process. You should be able to say, hey, I'm struggling, I need help. How do I get that help? Not, man, if I mention this, I might lose my job. I might people are going to criticize me and judge me, and that shouldn't be in your thought process, but it is. It's the reality of it. And it's what ultimately happened to me is in 2021, I went to an active shooter training. December of 2021, I went to an active shooter training, and I had a panic attack. I was seated comfortably like I am now, and we were watching PowerPoint presentations about different shootings across the United States. And I started feeling really, really hot, had a knot in my stomach. And when I reached up to my forehead, it was just drenched in sweat. I was having a panic attack. And my first thought was, I have to fight this and I have to hide it to every other officer here at this training. Because there was probably about 20 or 30 other officers. But they all knew me. If I would have raised my hand and said, I'm having a difficult time, I need to go home right now, I can't do this training, it probably would have been okay. But my first reaction was, I got to fight it and hide it. So I did, and went through the training and had a couple days off. And then I went back to work. And I was a detective at the time, but I was working a patrol shift. So I was in uniform. And I got in my squad car at 11 o'clock in the morning, the same time my shift started at my shooting. And I sat down and I was getting all my gear together. And I said, you know what? I quit. I ain't doing this no more. I'm done. And I don't think I wanted to quit being a police officer. I think I just wanted to quit coping the way I had been for years. And I wanted to get the right kind of help. So I spoke to my sergeant and the chief, and they didn't let me quit. They said, go home and take some time and think about it. And after about 2 weeks, I called up the chief and I said, I'm ready to come back to work. And he said, the only way you can come back to work is through a psychological examination, a fitness for duty test. And I'm like, okay, I'm all for it. Let's go. So I scheduled the appointment, and that day when I'm driving to that appointment, while I'm driving there, I thought to myself, I'm going to lie. I'm going to beat this test. I don't need to take this test. I'm going to lie. But when I was sitting in the waiting room waiting, I said, you know what, Adam, the only way that you're going to get the right kind of help is to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You're not going to get better if you keep lying and faking and lying to everybody that you're okay, because you're not. So I decided to be honest, and I went through all the testing, and I was unfit for duty. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, PTSD, acute stress with dissociative features, and I couldn't go back to work. And I requested a 90-day leave of absence so I could work on my mental health. And I was doing that. I was going to therapy 2-3 times a week. It was helping me. I was getting better. And I was even put on a crisis plan because during my evaluation, there were some suicidal ideations, and I was fine with that. But it's different when you're there and you help other people when they're in crisis and they go on a safety plan. It's different when you're on it, because now it's me. It's, when it's all about you, it's different. But I was okay with it. And then shortly after I was put on that safety plan, the police department came out to my house and they gave me a written order to immediately cease and desist speaking about my personal testimonies when it comes to my mental health. Basically tell me to shut up. Don't talk about your mental health. Don't talk about your shooting. If you do, you could possibly be suspended, disciplined, or terminated. And that scared me. I'm thinking, that's my right. I have been speaking and helping other people about this for years, and now you're telling me to not talk about it anymore. But it scared me, so I stopped. After the 90-day leave of absence expired, I met with the police chief, and this was a different police chief, not the same chief that supported me all the years because he had retired. And he said, we're not extending your leave of absence anymore. You can either resign or we're terminating you. And I thought it over and I said, I'm not quitting. And they terminated me. And I had been there for 14 years. I had never been disciplined. I had never been suspended. I received awards. I received medals. I was the first detective in the history of the police department. And I was terminated. And I remember walking out the police department thinking, what do I do now? And I just continued to work on myself and continue with therapy, and I got better. And at the time, I didn't even know if I wanted to be a cop anymore. After everything I went through, I'm like, you know what? Forget it. It's just not worth it. But as I got better and healthier, I thought, you know what? I still have some gas left in the tank. I love being a cop. I want to share my experience with others, veteran officers, new officers, people in the police academy, because this could happen to them. So I wanted to do that. And I started applying at police departments, and I was hired again. And shortly after I was hired, I was promoted to captain, um, which I never thought I'd be an administrator. I mean, it's great. And why did all that happen? Because I put myself first. I finally said, Adam, stop with all the BS, get the right kind of help. And I did that, and I'm healthier now, and I'm doing better, and I'm back to work, and I'm proud of myself, and I truly believe this journey is all by the grace of God. God wanted me to go through all this, even though I didn't want to at times. And He's kind of like, yeah, too bad. I got something else for you. And I'm grateful. I wasn't very grateful at the time, but
Going through it.
yeah, I mean, I hope nobody ever has to go through what I go through, but I know people are, and that's why I'm so transparent, and that's why I just put it all out there in hopes it'll help one person that may be suffering right now and can hear me share my experience and think, hey, I'm not alone. I can get help. I can get better, and hopefully they reach out for help.
Yes, yes. So the Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma. What is the gist of Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma program? Is it a program, or is it a number that you call, or what do you guys are based off of on Stop the Threat? Stop the
Sure, that's a good question. I established Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma in hopes to inspire other law enforcement, first responders, and basically anybody to reach out for help in mental health. Stop the Threat is kind of like, hey, it's the threat of your losing your career. It's the threat of your mental health, your physical health, losing your family, losing your friends, and Stop the Stigma. The reason why it's upside down like that is because it's right there in plain view. It's upside down. People are looking at it, but nobody wants to talk about it, right? So if you go to the website, there are some resources there. I also public speak. I go around, and if anybody wants to hear what I went through, I share that. I do podcasts like I'm doing right now with Real Life Topics podcast. Um, I write stories, and I just put it all out there in hopes that somebody else who's struggling will get the right kind of help, will reach out. And some of those resources are on the website. And my phone number is on the website. I mean, my actual phone number, not a separate phone number. So if you go there and you see the phone number and you need help and you want to reach out, call me, send me a text. I'll do the best I can to find you the right resources. I'll sit and talk with you. I'll text you back and forth. Because I know how it is to be alone, and it's not fun. You may think that, hey, I can handle this, but you can't. There's so many other people out there that do truly care about you. Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma does, and so many other people do too. And not just because they're getting paid for it, but they genuinely do care about people they don't know. Um, Complete strangers were supporting me. I would go on certain calls, and they would recognize me as being the officer in the shooting, and they said, "We prayed for you at church. We were hoping you were going to be okay." And I'm like, "Wow, I don't even know these people," and they were praying for me. I mean, that's great. Um, so that's the whole reason why I kind of established that movement to let people know that it's okay to talk about your mental health. You're not alone. Please don't suffer in silence.
Yes. Well, we respect it. We respect it, and we respect that you were brave enough and have more confidence enough to get out there, which was
Thank
already
you.
God. God already wrote this for you. He already knew
Absolutely.
go through. He already knew that Adam wasn't going to go through things that he couldn't handle. So you were the chosen one for that. Everybody doesn't do
Yeah.
it. You were the chosen one for that. If you didn't know that, everybody can't do what you do because you have to
Right.
have confidence. You have to have pride, and you have to not care about being judged. Is the big thing.
Right.
Being attacked about it. The judging part is where we suffer. We it's like we lion, tigers, and bears every day when we're outside. So for you to
Yep.
have confidence to just get out there, stop the threat, stop the stigma. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop what you're doing.
Thank
Don't
you.
stop it at all. Don't care what people say. And I respect what you got going on. One thing that
Thank
I
you.
to just say to the audience, to people who are out there that just don't recognize that mental health is real, what could you say to them to just make them aware that, hey, mental health is real and get you some help? Why is it important to get help for mental health?
Mental health is real, and it's more normal than you realize. And that's what we need to do is we need to normalize getting help, reaching out for help. There are so many people that struggle. There are so many people that see a therapist, that take medicine. It's okay. It's just not out there. You don't have to go on podcasts like I'm doing right now or go skip around town telling everybody your business.
Yeah.
I get that, but it's more normal than people realize. They probably know somebody who's struggling. They're probably struggling one way or another. It's normal to be stressed. It's normal to have anxiety in their day-to-day stuff. Um, but it's good and it's healthy to reach out for help, even if you don't know what's going on. But nobody knows you better than you. Okay, I may not know exactly what's going on, but something ain't right. So I might be like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel right. Something's wrong. I need to reach out. Do that. It's okay. If you have somebody close to you, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, friend, family, or you can even go to urgent care or the emergency room. And even if you don't understand what's going on, say that. Say, hey, I've been feeling off. I don't understand what's going on, but something's not right. I need help. There are people out there that will help you. And it's so important because, I look back, it took me 6 years to finally get the right kind of help. Woulda, coulda, shoulda years ago. Because there's sometimes now I'm like, gosh, I should be so far ahead where I am now. But it's like, well, no, Adam, you didn't start getting help until the right kind of help till 2022. So please reach out for help. It's so important. It's so important for your lifestyle, for the people that love you, for your job, for your personal life. It affects you in so many ways, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you for coming through a Real Life Topics podcast. And if anybody wants any type of help or any type of support, you can hit up Real Life Topics podcast inbox and/or Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma, Captain Adam Meyers. Anytime you guys want to, we just respect that you was just brave enough to just get out here and just do what you're doing. I want you to never stop. Keep it moving.
Thank you.
The motivation going.
Be inspirational.
You are inspirational. If you know that your story is very, very motivational and it's very more explanatory is what I'm trying to use as well. Because like I said, when it comes to the police and line of duty with critical incidents, people are always quick to judge. And we have a God-fearing man here that, it was unfortunate that the incident had to happen, but it was self-defense. And people just need to know that police have a right to protect themselves as well.
Right.
Right to protect yourself as well. So just like a regular normal person, it will protect themselves. You are a human besides officer. So let's, we want to stop that threat and stop that stigma of thought process as well. Everybody needs to know that. So we definitely thank you for coming through for Real Life Topics podcast. Maybe we'll do because we need to keep this mental health thing going. We need to keep it out there, keep it in people's face to know that, hey, it's nothing wrong if you have, things are going on like you say in your mind. It's nothing wrong with that. Seek out for help. Seek out because things can be worse or can get worse if you don't seek for help.
Absolutely.
Yep. We all have more in common than what people think we do.
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, we do. So we want to thank God for you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank God.
Amen. Thank you.
And thank you for joining. It was an honor for you to, you actually reached out to Real Life Topics podcast. So it was an honor for us to have you on our show, speaking about things of importance because this is a really big topic, mental health.
Especially here in America.
Especially here in America, especially 2025. The world getting deep out there, and we need to stay on the right track. We need to stay on the right track and know, just dwell on things of importance and having a clear mental is very important. Very important.
Absolutely.
As people,
It's-
different perspective, as far as like police brutality or victimizing, or just the different aspects. Because most of the time, when people think about a police shooting, they always look at the victim. They don't really look at the officer who actually is going through the same thing. So, we thank you for your perspective and giving us a different perception of things of those nature.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. It really means a lot to me.
Yes, yes. So there we have it. Captain Adam Meyers from Hartford, Wisconsin on Real Life Topics Podcast. Make sure if you have any type of mental health issues, you can hit up Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma. Captain Adam Meyers. Thank you for tuning in to Real Life Topics Podcast. You have a great evening, guys. Wait a minute. Technical difficulties. Wait, technical difficulties. We trying to get off the live. Trying to get off the live. All right. And we're
I did it.
press in.